Right, the first in our health series is vitamin D. Now, I'm going to do some of the boring stuff and tell you the facts. So, vitamin D, there are two forms. There's D2, that's like made by plants, and there's D3, which is made by sunlight. You don't need to know that, but something to tell your friends. Now, some call it the happy pill, and the real simple way to think about this is think how good you feel when you're on holiday. That's what sun does, just generally makes you feel good. And it's essential for the conversion of serotonin, which is responsible for mood, satiety, and gut health. So it's got quite an important role. Okay, it releases antimicrobials in response to an infection. So it's going to help your immune system. And it's important for bone health, obviously. Okay, it makes you really strong. And as we get older, it's important in the role of osteoporosis, like helping manage that and preventing it. But the problem is, like, obviously, a lot of foods, eggs, fish, like cheeses, rices, and stuff, they have vitamin D, but it's poorly absorbed from our diet. So supplementation is recommended. Why? Well, dietary sources are limited, like I said. Real vitamin D comes from getting out in the sun, and it always rains here. And real deficiencies arise when there's an inadequate sunlight. So welcome to the UK. 2 to 3,000 IU is an optimal dose for most people living in a non-tropical climate, and definitely during winter months. It's also important because we're highly stressed, okay? And when you're stressed, that can deplete magnesium stores, which then affects vitamin D levels. And we spend a lot of time indoors as well. Like, if you look at your day, you're probably indoors more than you are out. So we don't get a lot of that high quality sunlight that we need. Then it rains most of the time. So we're not really winning here. Um, and like I said, we just don't get a lot of sunlight in the UK, especially this year. So it's going to be super important to get something like a vitamin D in you just for optimal health. So, like, how's best to take it? Well, the RDA is actually 600 IUs, which is really low. RDA should be called recommended deficiency allowance. This is like the minimal dosage for a deficiency. It's really low, a really low number. But looking at some of the studies, they did a study here on elderly people to improve their quality of life and physical performance in patients that had osteoarthritis, and they actually gave them, it says here, 40,000 IUs. Okay, so 600 is the RDA. They gave them 40,000. And there's one here that said they gave them 50,000 for 8 weeks. And what they noticed is, out of 175 participants after vitamin D supplementation, weight, percentage of fat mass, and visceral fat, so that's like the fat around your organs, were all significantly decreased compared to baseline levels. They also noticed a huge difference in HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol. They noticed that increased, and a reduction in LDL cholesterol after vitamin D supplementation. So you can see here, like the dosage, it's not a massive thing. Okay, so like 600 is really low. And if you're just taking 600 and they've given these 50,000, I'm not saying you need to take 50,000, but you can see there's a big difference between the dosages there. Also, for vitamin D, you don't want to take it in isolation. So if you just went to Sainsbury's, it'll just sell vitamin D, but it doesn't really get used. It's not really well absorbed by the body. You need a vitamin D and a K2 to get the most out of it. And in this study here, they did a study on the combined effect of vitamin D, vitamin K, and vitamin D on bone quality. And what they found was, on this meta-analysis, which is like a study of studies, including 971 subjects that took vitamin K combined with vitamin D, they saw a significant increase in total bone mineral density. Um, and that was compared to the group that just had a normal vitamin D. So the people that took a vitamin D with a vitamin K, they saw bigger improvements in their bone mineral density compared to the group that just took vitamin D. And that's because vitamin K turns vitamin D into a more active form. And there's also another study here around the importance of magnesium alongside of vitamin D. So like I said on the previous video, a lot of these supplements in isolation, it's quite hard to find the benefits because it's like patching a hole in a wall, but they all link up. And this is the first one where magnesium helps the absorption of vitamin D. So they did a study like supporting that. Poor vitamin D and magnesium status was observed in individuals who are overweight and obese. Magnesium is actually a cofactor that assists vitamin D metabolism. In a 12-week double-blinded controlled style, they had like a magnesium and vitamin D group, a vitamin D only group, and a placebo group. So that's where they like didn't tell them what they had. In the magnesium group, they experienced a greater increase in absorption, a decrease in blood pressure. So they concluded that magnesium combined will be super effective in allowing the absorption of vitamin D. So you can see this leads me on to our next recommendation for optimal health, which is magnesium.